What if I told you that the life you're dreaming of, the love, the wealth, the peace, the power, it's not a reward for your effort, but a birthright you've forgotten? And what if the keys to that divine inheritance have been resting silently within you, waiting, not for permission, but for remembrance? There is an old riddle whispered in the halls of ancient mystery schools. What is always present yet most often ignored? What shapes your world yet remains invisible to the eye? The answer is the mind, but not the ordinary mind filled with scattered thoughts and restless chatter. I speak of the creative mind, the divine mechanism gifted to each soul by the infinite, a power so sacred, so absolute, that even the ancients called it the Word of God made flesh. And here's the truth. You are not here to chase blessings. You're not here to beg for miracles. You are here to remember that you are a miracle and your thoughts are the brushstrokes painting your reality. In the early 20th century, a man named Dr. Ernest Holmes emerged, not as a preacher but as a revealer of forgotten truths. He didn't invent this wisdom. He uncovered it, like an archaeologist brushing the dust from an ancient tablet that was always there. His work, The Science of Mind, is not a book about wishful thinking. It is a manual for divine creation. A sacred transmission reminding you that there is no separation between you and the source that made you. Holmes taught that the mind is not yours alone. It is the mind of God, individualized through you. And when you learn how to align your thought with divine law, the universe bends, not to your will, but to your alignment. This is not metaphysical poetry, it is spiritual precision. But most people live asleep, trapped in cycles of fear, lack, limitation, praying to a God outside themselves while ignoring the divine architect within. They do not realize they're praying with every thought, every emotion, every belief they rehearse each day, and the law responds, not to the begging voice of fear, but to the vibrational truth we hold deep inside. So let me ask you, are you ready to reclaim what was never taken from you, only buried? Are you ready to activate the divine blueprint encoded within your very being? Then this is not just a video. This is an initiation, a sacred memory. We will travel through forgotten philosophies and sacred science. We will awaken the teachings of Dr. Ernest Holmes and ancient mystics who spoke the same truth in different tongues. We will expose the mechanisms of manifestation, not as a trick or hack, but as a sacred art governed by spiritual law. And by the end of this journey, you will no longer ask for your dream life. You will know how to become one. Because the greatest lie ever told was that you needed anything outside of you to be whole. Let me remind you now, you are the microcosm of the macrocosm. The drop that holds the ocean, the light that remembers the sun, and it is time to stop dimming what was designed to shine. The ancient sages, the Hermetic alchemists, the mystics of India, Egypt, and beyond, they all whispered this same truth. As within, so without. As above, so below. And Dr. Ernest Holmes? He translated these eternal whispers into a system, a bridge, between spirit and science, a way to command your life with reverence, not resistance. So if you've felt lost, if you've wondered why your affirmations fall flat, why your prayers feel unanswered, it's not because you are broken. It's because you were never taught how to truly create. But that ends now, because what you are about to remember will change everything. And the first step is this. You were never meant to chase the dream. You were meant to embody the dreamer, the one with the power to dream into existence the life they were born to live. This truth was never lost. It was waiting for you to remember. Long before science gave form to electricity, the stars whispered of a current far more powerful, an invisible force that shapes mountains, births civilizations, and bends the invisible into form. It was called many names: Logos, Akasha, Prana, Ruach, the Word, the mind of God. This wasn't fiction. It was a sacred reality understood by ancient priesthoods and mystery schools, passed down in symbols, rituals, and guarded texts. These traditions understood that thought was not just a mental process, it was a creative command, a spark of divine will clothed in human consciousness. Let us begin in ancient Egypt, where the god Thoth, keeper of wisdom, was said to have created the world through words alone. He spoke, and the universe moved. Thoth did not use hands or tools. He used vibration, the same force later called the Word made flesh in Christian mysticism. To the Egyptians, to think was to begin creation. To speak was to give it form. In India, this truth was encoded in the Upanishads, which say, "You are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny." Here again, we are not seen as beggars under divine rule, but as co-creators, expressions of Brahman manifesting form through will and awareness. The Hermetic teachings, passed through Greece and Alexandria, revealed this universal law more precisely. The all is mind, taught Hermes Trismegistus. The universe is mental. Nothing exists that was not first thought. In other words, your outer world is nothing more than your inner vision in slow motion. And yet, over centuries, this sacred science was buried beneath dogma. The Church traded revelation for control, prayer became petition, and we forgot that the kingdom of God was not a throne in the clouds, but a consciousness within. It was into this slumbering world that Dr. Ernest Holmes was born. He wasn't robbed of gold or speaking from mountaintops. He was a man, yet a man on fire with remembrance. Born in 1887 in Maine, Holmes grew up in the wake of religious rigidity, but rather than rejecting God, he sought to understand the mechanics of the divine. He devoured philosophy, metaphysics, psychology, and scripture. From Emerson to the Bhagavad Gita, from Jesus to Plato, Holmes saw one golden thread. There is only one power, one presence, one infinite intelligence. And you are not separate from it, you are a center in it. His masterpiece, The Science of Mind, published in 1926, did not invent this truth. It revealed what the mystics always knew, that you are thinking into a law that cannot say no. This law, Holmes said, is impersonal. It does not judge, it reflects. Much like the soil does not decide which seed is worthy, it simply grows what is planted. Plant thoughts of lack, and you reap struggle. Plant thoughts of wholeness, and you reap miracles. This is not a reward, it resonates. Holmes synthesized ancient wisdom with modern language. He explained that God is not a being, but being itself. Not somewhere else, but everywhere present, including within you. He described threefold being: spirit, the idea; soul, the law; and body, the result. This wasn't theology, this was spiritual physics. In his words, we are surrounded by a universal mind which knows everything. The potential knowledge of all things exists in this mind, and the potential power to accomplish anything. We experience what we truly believe. This echoed the words of Jesus. According to your faith, be it unto you. It mirrored the Buddha's wisdom. All that we are arises with our thoughts, and it is aligned with Lao Tzu. The world is shaped by the mind that sees it. Holmes brought structure to mysticism, transforming spiritual mystery into spiritual mastery. But even before Holmes, this idea was whispering through time. In Kabbalistic tradition, the creative power of the universe is known as Ein Sof, the limitless light, and the divine intention that shapes matter is thought clothed in will. The tree of life maps the descent of spirit into form, tracing how an idea becomes experience. In Gnostic texts, the soul is portrayed as a spark exiled from the divine fullness, lost in a world of illusion, until it remembers, you are not from this world, you are light. Through gnosis, inner knowing, the soul reclaims its power. In early Christian mysticism, Jesus is not merely a savior, but a revealer of the truth that the kingdom is within you. And his miracles, not supernatural violations, but natural results of divine alignment. He was the demonstration, not the exception. And so, Holmes took this perennial wisdom and did something revolutionary. He gave it structure, he gave it language, he gave it practice. He taught that we are always manifesting every single moment. The law of mind is never off. We do not need to make it work. We only need to work with it. This makes manifestation not magic, but a sacred responsibility. You cannot think of poverty and expect wealth. You cannot harbor resentment and expect love. You cannot affirm abundance once and doubt it all day and expect the law to obey your confusion. You must become congruent in thought, in feeling, in belief. And this is what Holmes called spiritual mind treatment, a practice where you speak truth, not as a hope, but as an inner decree, until your inner world aligns with the divine idea. Not a wish, a knowing. Not a command to the universe, but a recognition of what's already been given. This practice has roots in ancient affirmative prayer, as seen in mystical Judaism's kavana, or the Sanskrit sankalpa, a spiritual intention grounded in the soul's truth. Holmes took all this and simplified it. He taught people that they do not need to climb mountains or impress God to be worthy. They only need to align. He wrote, "There is nothing between you and your good, nothing between you and God, except your belief that there is." And that's the greatest revelation of all, that the veil is self-made, the cage was always open, the lock was imagined, and the door to your dream life has never been closed, it's simply been forgotten. Now, with this history as your foundation, you are ready to learn how to activate this power, because it is not enough to know that you are divine. You must learn to walk as if it's true. Imagine your life as a vast field stretching beyond the visible horizon. In your hands, you hold a bag of seeds, thoughts, emotions, beliefs. Some are bright with joy. Others are laced with fear. And with each passing day, whether you realize it or not, you are planting the soil. It is the universal law, the creative mind, the divine matrix, what Dr. Ernest Holmes called the medium through which spirit acts. You do not command this soil, you collaborate with it. It does not judge your seeds, it multiplies them. And so the question becomes not, will I manifest? But what am I constantly manifesting through my deepest convictions? This is the foundation of Holmes' teachings and the secret that mystics across millennia held close to their heart. Your thought is not a passive ripple, it is a directive force. When you think something, you are impressing it upon the creative medium. When you feel it deeply, you water that impression. When you believe it fully, you give it root. Eventually, the universe yields fruit, not in the shape of your wishes, but in the mirror of your vibration. Let us pause and clarify something here. Manifestation is not about mere visualization. It is not positive thinking pasted over spiritual confusion. No, it is not about forcing reality with desperate energy. No, it is alignment. Just as a musician tunes their instrument to the key of the symphony, your consciousness must be attuned to the frequency of your desired life. If you desire abundance, but are secretly drenched in fear of not having enough, the law reflects that contradiction. This is why Holmes emphasized clarity of thought and emotional congruence. He understood that vague prayers produce vague results. So how do we begin to align? Let us first look into the mechanics. Dr. Ernest Holmes taught a triune model of existence: spirit, idea or cause, the realm of infinite potential. Here is the original spark, the divine thought, the seed of creation. Soul, law or medium, the subconscious mechanism, the creative process. This is where thought is received and acted upon without question. Body, form or effect, The physical reality, the visible result. This is the harvest, the reflection of your inner world in outer form. This is not a metaphor, it is a blueprint. When you think something repeatedly with feeling, you imprint it into the soul, which we may also understand as the subconscious, the fertile void, the universal mind. And the soul does not argue, it does not say yes or no, it simply responds. This is why Holmes wrote, "The law is always working. It is not something we turn on, it is something we become conscious of." So here is the sacred shift. You stop asking, "Will it happen?" And you start asking, "What must I believe to make it inevitable?" Because belief is not wishful thinking. Belief is the bridge between vision and form. And the deeper truth is this: you are always believing something. The question is it empowering or imprisoning you? Holmes called this mental equivalency. He taught that you can only experience that which you have the consciousness to receive. For example, you may desire love, but if you believe love is dangerous or that you're unworthy of it, you will unconsciously resist it, pushing it away with every unspoken doubt. You may want wealth, but if your core programming equates money with evil, betrayal, or stress, the law honors that belief, not your surface desire. And so you must become what Holmes called mentally receptive to your good. You must cultivate a consciousness that is capable of receiving what the Spirit already wants to give. Because the truth is, the universe is not withholding anything. The storehouse of blessings is already open. Your dream life already exists in potential. It is your job to step into the vibration where it becomes inevitable. Think of it like tuning a radio. The station is already broadcasting, but until you adjust your dial, all you hear is static. The dial is your consciousness. The frequency is your belief. The moment you align your inner frequency with the truth of your desire, manifestation is no longer effort. It is a natural result. This is why Holmes did not teach people to beg, but to affirm, to declare, to align. He taught that right thought is spiritual treatment. That when you declare, "I am whole, I am prosperous, I am divine," you are not making something happen. You are recognizing what already is and allowing it to express through you. This is the sacred paradox of manifestation. You must desire, yes. But more than desire, you must know. You must live as though your vision is already unfolding, not in arrogance, but in faithful expectancy. Holmes used the analogy of a seed again and again. He said, "When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up the next day to see if it has sprouted. You water it. You believe it is growing. You live in the expectancy of harvest." This is how you activate your divine power. You think clearly, you feel deeply, you believe wholly, you no longer negotiate with doubt, you no longer argue with appearances. You begin to understand that what you see is not the final truth. It is the past echo of your former state of consciousness, and what you now claim by divine law must eventually take form. This is why Holmes encouraged people to detach from the how. He taught, "Do not outline, let the law find its own way," because your job is not to control the universe. Your job is to hold the vision, align with the vibration, and walk as though it is done. That is what makes you powerful. Not because you manipulate life, but because you harmonize with the source of all life. So let us bring this to a pause with a reflection. If you are a divine expression of infinite mind, then every time you think, you are planting. Every time you feel it, you are watering. Every time you believe, you are forming reality. The question is not whether the soil is fertile. The question is, what seeds are you sowing right now? And are they worthy of the life you know you were born to live? Because if not, then this moment is your invitation to begin again, to think anew, to believe differently, to align intentionally. Because the law never sleeps, and neither does your power. There is a secret within the secret, one that confuses many seekers and frustrates even the devoted. It is this: the more desperately you chase your desire, the more it eludes you. And yet, the moment you release your grasp and align with its essence, it often arrives effortlessly. Why? Because you are not manifesting from what you want, you are manifesting from what you are. This is the great paradox Holmes hinted at, one echoed in the mystical teachings of sages long before him. To have, you must be. To attract wealth, you must first embody the vibration of abundance. To call in love, you must feel worthy and whole. To manifest peace, you must learn to surrender, not control. This is why so many people struggle with manifestation. They are trying to change the outer world while remaining unchanged within. They affirm prosperity but still feel poor. They visualize health while fearing disease. They ask for transformation but resist releasing who they've been. The law does not respond to your words, it responds to your vibration. And vibration is the music of your beliefs, emotions, and expectations. Dr. Ernest Holmes warned against the temptation to treat manifestation as a game of outer performance. He knew that this power, this universal mind, could not be fooled. You may say the right things, you may journal, visualize, or chant, but if in your core you are steeped in doubt or fear, the law reflects that. And so, Holmes directed students inward, not outward. He taught that true transformation is not a performance, it is a shift in identity. You must become the person who no longer needs to beg for the life they want, because they have remembered they are already one with it. This is not arrogance, it is spiritual humility, the deep knowing that your power is not personal, but divine. And here lies another profound contradiction. The power you seek to control is not yours to control. It is yours to cooperate with. You are not the source, you are the vessel. You do not force the law, you align with it. You do not demand your dreams. You become a clear channel through which the dream manifests itself, and this leads us to a deeper mystery. Sometimes what you think you desire is not what your soul truly seeks. You may believe you want wealth, but your soul longs for freedom. You may crave a relationship, but your spirit is preparing you for self-love. And the law, in its infinite intelligence, gives not always what your ego wants, but what your vibration holds and your soul truly needs for evolution. This is why surrender is not weakness, it is spiritual mastery. To release the how, the when, the what, it is to trust the mind that governs galaxies. It is to say, I do not need to control, I choose to align. This is the advanced teaching Holmes alluded to, that the highest form of manifestation is not desperate attraction. It is the divine embodiment. You become so anchored in your knowing, so fused with your vision, that you no longer hope, it simply is. Holmes called this treatment without strain, where your spiritual work is not labor, it is alignment, where your belief is not forced, it flows. You are not trying to make anything happen. You are simply removing the blocks until their arrival. And these blocks, they are almost always internal. The belief that you are not enough, the inherited fear that power is dangerous, the unconscious loyalty to suffering because you think you must earn your blessings. These are not truths, they are stories, and you are allowed to choose a new story. In fact, your entire life is a story told by your soul, every chapter written in thought, emotion, and belief. Dr. Ernest Holmes knew this. He taught that to manifest your dream life, you must become the author, not the victim. You must move from passive receiver to active co-creator, from unworthy seeker to divine rememberer. He said, life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. So if life is a mirror, then your work is not to fix the reflection. Your work is to change the image you hold within. This is why inner work is not optional, it is essential. Meditation, journaling, affirmation, prayer, stillness, these are not rituals for the mystical few. They are tools to realign your vibration to the divine blueprint etched within your soul. Because here is the final paradox. You are not trying to become powerful. You are remembering that you already are. The law of mind doesn't begin working when you discover it. It has always been working. The moment you were born, it listened. The moment you first thought, it responded. And now, as you awaken, it stands ready, not to reward you, but to reflect you. So ask yourself now, what am I ready to believe? What am I willing to let go of? Who would I be if I stopped waiting and started walking as though the dream were already mine? Because that is how you activate your divine power. Not by waiting for the right moment, but by becoming the one who no longer doubts it. It is not enough to know the truth, for truth not lived is truth not known. Dr. Ernest Holmes taught that spiritual knowledge must become spiritual embodiment. Only then does the invisible become visible. Only then does the word become flesh. So how do we take this mystical understanding and make it move? How do we activate this God-given power, not just in our minds, but in our lives? The answer begins in stillness. Just as the ocean only reflects truth when it is calm, your inner world must become quiet to hear the voice of the infinite. So begin here. This is the cornerstone of Holmes's work. It is not a petition. It is not wishful thinking. It is a systematic declaration of truth, spoken not to God, but from God within you. There are 5 sacred steps. Recognition. Acknowledge the infinite. There is only one power, one presence, one intelligence, and it is God. Unification. Merge yourself with that power. I am one with this presence. It moves through me, as me. Realization. Declare your truth as already done. Right now I am whole. Prosperity flows through me. I am already living the life I desire. Thanksgiving. Give thanks with deep reverence. I am grateful for this truth. I rejoice in its unfolding. Release. Let go and let the law do its work. I release this word into the creative mind. It is done. Speak this aloud, with power, with stillness, with faith, not once, but until you feel the truth shift your inner state. This is not performance. It is spiritual alignment. And every time you do this, you are reprogramming your inner world to reflect divine law. Each morning, before the world touches your mind, touch the truth. Create a journal with these 3 sacred prompts. What am I choosing to believe today? Choose a belief that aligns with the life you are creating. Example, I believe abundance is flowing to me with ease. Who am I being in this moment? Not what you're doing, but the energy you're embodying. Example, I am someone who trusts divine timing. What am I releasing today? Let go of a thought, habit, or fear that no longer serves you. Example, I release the belief that I must struggle to receive. These 3 questions, answered daily, begin to shift your subconscious patterning. And remember, your subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to repetition and emotion. So write not just with your hand, but with your heart. Every day, take 5 to 10 minutes to connect with the divine mind. Sit in silence. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe deeply, slowly. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. With each breath, silently affirm, I am one with infinite intelligence. I am the vessel of divine expression. I am already living in alignment with my highest truth. Let this become your anchor, your recalibration. Do it when you're anxious. Do it before decisions. Do it to remember, because the soul doesn't shout, it whispers, and this breath allows you to hear it. Holmes emphasized that the subconscious does not distinguish between real and vividly imagined. So use that to your advantage. Each night before sleep, close your eyes and enter the dream, but not as an observer, as a participant. See yourself living your dream life, but more than that, feel it, smell the air, hear the sounds. Walk in that reality as if it were your present. Then speak this inwardly. This is already mine. It is done. I walk as though it is here. Let this be the last vibration your mind holds before entering the dream state. Why? Because the subconscious is most programmable in the liminal space between waking and sleep. And what you impress in that sacred space becomes the seeds of your tomorrow. Affirmations are not magic spells. They are tuning forks. Holmes taught that every affirmation should come from identity, not lack. Don't say, "I want abundance." Say, "I am the living expression of abundance now." Here are a few daily affirmations inspired by Holmes's teachings. I am one with the creative power of the universe. Everything I desire is already within me, waiting to unfold. My word has power. My thought is divine command. The law of mind responds to me perfectly, without delay or judgment. I walk in harmony with the source. All things are working for my good. I no longer chase, I magnetize, I embody the vibration of what I seek. Speak them aloud, write them, record them in your own voice and listen. Repetition is not vanity, it is reprogramming. Holmes was clear. You cannot manifest while denying your unconscious patterns. So if things are not showing up, don't panic. Go inward. Ask, where am I still doubting? What belief am I holding about myself, others, or life that contradicts my desire? What emotional wound is still active beneath my affirmation? Then treat it, not with shame, but with spiritual compassion. Use treatment not just to declare what you want, but to heal what blocks it. Example, I now release the belief that I must earn love. I'm already loved, worthy, and whole. I allow love to flow to me from within and without. The law does not resist your healing. It celebrates it. Because healing is not separate from manifestation. It is the foundation of it. This is the ultimate practice. Every single day ask, if I already had the life I desire, how would I speak? How would I walk? How would I treat others? How would I breathe, dress, create, and serve? Then do that. Live as though it is done. Because this is the secret that bends reality. When you live as though the dream is true, the universe must catch up. You are no longer asking, you are being. And being is the language the law listens to most. Your morning is the portal through which your consciousness re-enters the world. Do not let the first thing you engage in be fear, news, or distraction. Instead, create a sacred container. Wake in silence, breathe, speak your treatments, visualize your life, move your body as an act of worship, drink water with gratitude, write one truth about who you are. It does not need to be long, but it must be intentional, because the first vibration you set is the wave you ride all day. Holmes knew that spiritual law is precise, but not always fast by human standards. If something is delayed, it does not mean it is denied. Delay is often the law rearranging matter, upgrading your consciousness, or dissolving hidden resistance. So instead of asking, where is it? Ask, who am I becoming as I wait in faith? The moment you doubt, you signal that it's not yet yours. The moment you trust, you invite it to flow. Delay is the universe saying, hold the frequency, stay the course. I am weaving what you cannot yet see. And that, beloved, is the posture of divine creation. You began this journey perhaps with a question, a longing, a whisper in your heart that said, there must be more. And now that whisper is not just an echo, it is a voice, a knowing, a sacred recognition that what you've been seeking has always been seeking you. You've learned that you are not here to wish for miracles. You are here to be the vessel through which miracles occur. You are not the victim of circumstance, You are the revealer of spiritual law in motion. Dr. Ernest Holmes gave language to this ageless truth, but the truth itself is eternal. You are the thought of God made manifest. You are the light the darkness cannot comprehend. You are the word spoken before the world began. And now you remember, you are not broken. You are blooming. You are not late. You are on divine timing. You are not too small to create. You are the creation. Let us return one last time to the sacred mirror. If your life is reflecting old beliefs, now is the time to change them. If your heart is still bound by fear, now is the time to release it. If your voice has been silenced by doubt, now is the time to reclaim it. Because the law is always listening, not to your desperation, not to your performance, but to your vibration. And your vibration is the song of your beliefs, your emotions, your trust in the unseen. You don't need to be perfect. You need only to be awake, to notice when fear whispers, to observe when doubt returns, and to return again and again to your truth. I am one with the infinite mind of the universe. I am the thinker that thinks into law, and the law that brings forth creation. I am not separate from my good. I am the channel through which it flows. This is not philosophy, it is your inheritance, a sacred right not earned through struggle, but remembered through stillness. So pause with me now. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe deeply. Feel the space between thoughts. Feel the aliveness within you. That is the divine spark. That is your true self. And from that self, all things are possible, not someday but now. Because when you remember who you truly are, the illusion of delay dissolves. There is no gap between you and your dream, only the veil of disbelief. But now that veil is lifting. Now the law is awakened in your awareness, and now you have a choice. Not a choice to hope, not a choice to wish for, but a choice to somebody. To rise each day as though it is already done. To speak not with fear, but with spiritual authority. To live not in reaction, but in creation. And when the world tells you otherwise, when old thoughts try to return, smile. Because you now know the secret, that your outer world is but clay, and your thoughts are the hands shaping it, that your reality is not fixed, it is fluid, it is listening. And you, yes, you are the artist, you are the mystic, you are the creator, you are the word became flesh. As Dr. Ernest Holmes once wrote, know that you know, the truth will set you free. So walk as though you are already free. Speak as though the blessing is already here. Give thanks before the miracle arrives, because the giving is what welcomes it. And finally, remember this. The power was never outside you. The wisdom was never hidden. The dream was never denied. This truth was never lost. It was waiting for you to remember.